So today I really want to talk about the kind of men that I suggest to kind of watch out for, the kind of men I honestly strongly believe you should not marry. And we're just going to get straight to it. So I think the first one is definitely a man that comes from an abusive home, one that didn't have a healthy childhood, healthy parents. I've personally never had good experience with these kind of men. And usually men who come from these kind of homes tend to repeat what their parents put them through. So, for example, I even know, and this is a true story, I even know this one guy who he grew up where his father would beat him, beat the mom, beat the kids. And eventually he got tired of it. And by the time he turned 18, he basically had enough with his dad. He told him, listen, if you're even going to touch my mom one more time, like, I'm going to kill you. And that same man grew up to basically eventually he had a wife, he had kids, and the same thing that his father did to him, he did to his wife and kids. Like he would beat his wife and he would beat his kids. That same man who he hated, that same man that basically ruined his childhood, that same man that he told that he would kill him if he touched his mom again, he did the exact same things to his wife and to his kids. And I'm just trying to tell you, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, if a person came from that kind of home, like they would not want to repeat it because, of course, if they've been abused, like the chances of them repeating it is so rare because they already understand the pain. They don't want to put somebody else through that. But this is all psychological. Like, usually people do tend to repeat. Okay. And sometimes it's not even just abuse. Sometimes they're just going to be extremely aggressive. They get really mad. It doesn't always have to be like because they've been abused, they're going to abuse you. But usually, even just a person who becomes aggressive, it can eventually, I don't know, maybe you can make them mad enough that they're going to literally murder you. And same thing with abuse. Like, if you start seeing signs of him literally, like, punching walls, that basically means that you're next. Like, these things are really things that you need to watch out for, and you need to stop feeling sorry for these kind of men because the chances of them changing is so rare. Even if they get therapy, even if they get the help they need, it's very rare that these kind of people change. Of course, there's exceptions, but you should never think that you're so lucky that you're gonna, stumble upon that kind of guy. Especially if you don't even come from a healthy family. Like, not only are you struggling now, but on top of that, you're adding another guy into your life that's struggling too. What are you doing that for? In my opinion, and especially if you come from a traditional mindset, if you plan to have kids, if you don't even have a healthy family, the least you can do is give them some kind of grandparents. So at least get a guy that actually comes from a healthy family. So that your kids can actually see what it's like to have family dinners, family holidays. These things, like, I strongly believe that these things are important. And I even notice that sometimes these men who come from abusive homes, even if they do get a good girlfriend, a good wife, sometimes what they do instead of repeating the pattern, they will go cheat on the girl that they have to be with a girl who's more abusive. That reminds them of what they had, which is kind of similar to women too who come from these kind of homes. So again, this is all psychological, but in my opinion, stop going after men who come from these kind of homes, okay? You don't need to save them. Save yourself first. Also, I really want to remind you that it's best not to mention to men that you come from unhealthy family. Healthy families normally teach their kids to look for people who are raised in good families. For example, I couldn't come home with a man that has a father who's like an absent alcoholic and the mother is some sex worker or a coke addict. No way a healthy family will want me to be with their son. They're not going to allow me to be with that kind of man. And I truly wish I had good advice on how to avoid this kind of convo if you don't come from a good family or what to do. But sadly, there are women out there who are in hypergamy who have found men and they do come from this kind of situation and they fortunately had to do a lot of therapy. And even when I talk to them, like, sadly, I think honestly the only choice is to lie in this situation. I really don't think there's any other thing you can do. Plenty of women will say, their families live abroad and then eventually later on they will say we got into a disagreement and kind of cut off contact, something like that. I mean, it's hard to say because, yeah, the only thing you can do is lie and just try to kind of cut off that conversation about family on your side. But if you do choose to tell them the truth, then go for it. But like the chances of it being used against you is quite high. Next, I would say are short or ugly men. Though I claim that women shouldn't care about height or looks as long as the money is coming, these men are still something that you need to watch out for because unfortunately They're very insecure. And because of this, you'll sometimes see, some narcissistic vibes from them. And it doesn't matter, even if you go for a lot, like those tall guys who are good looking, you're still gonna see those kind of signs. But it doesn't matter which man you get into. Sometimes girls get too comfortable when they get a man who's short or a man that's ugly. You get what I mean? Because I'll tell you what, unfortunately, like I said, short, ugly men are quite insecure. And because of this, you'll sometimes see, you will see that basically most of them, it's very rare that they have a healthy ego or self esteem. Sometimes when you're out of a man's league and give him a chance, this delusional Shrek looking guy will think if he got you, he can do better. So sadly, there's always going to be cons with these men. Next are men who wear designer brands, clothes, drive those fancy cars. Listen, I know that it excites women when they see guys wearing Gucci brand clothes, driving all those sports cars, but usually those kind of men are broke. Especially if you're from America, you know how easy it is to rent that kind of car. And truly, I just know so many broke men who are on a minus who have sports cars, so it really doesn't mean anything. Just because you see somebody driving around with a nice car does not mean that they have money. And truly, the ones that I actually met who are actually generous, who actually do come with money, and I'm talking about a lot of money, were the most simple men ever. They will wear flip-flops, shorts, drive the most regular car. You will not be able to tell that they're rich. And if you actually take a look at the people who are famous, that are actually rich, you will see that they dress very simple. They don't try to show it. They will not try to show it off. When a guy's trying too hard to wear logo clothes and try to really put out oh, look at me, I have brown clothes and stuff like that, it's obvious that you're trying to create an image as if you have money. A person who has money isn't going to try to prove it. They already know that they have money. The next one is obviously the bachelor. The chances of you finding a guy like this is very common. And they are always with a bunch of women. Even if they're in a relationship, they still have women on the side. And these kind of men are usually very charming and they really have manners. They will open up the door. They will, pull out the chair. They just have a lot of manners and they have a lot of game. They know exactly what to do, when to do it, and what to say and when to say. And you will come home and you will be like, oh my gosh, I just met my dream man. These kind of men are usually to watch out for. They have a lot of game because they have a lot of experience. And they will tell you what you want to hear. At the end of the day, it's just to get laid. So usually the best men to get are the ones who actually are not, who don't have very good game, the ones who are not extra charming. And I know that this is going to be a bit harder because women like that fantasy world where the guy already knows how to do everything right. And if you end up with somebody like this, and I know they're extra charming, so it's hard, you will get effed over. It's just how it is. These guys come with a lot of experience because they have so many women. And the chances of you locking this guy down for something serious is very rare. Even if you do, you're most likely still going to be cheated on. So if you're okay with it and you're okay with constantly being in competition, then it's up to you. Spotting these kind of men is very easy. He will wine and dine you, sweep you off your feet. He will make you feel like you're the only girl in the world. You will sit there and you will be like, how could this guy be single? And if he told you he's been cheated on, you're going to be like, how could any girl cheat on him? You will think you're the luckiest girl alive. And I just want you to know, as soon as you think that you found your dream man, no. No woman out there that even found a good husband who's actually generous and pays for and takes care of her will tell you that, oh my gosh, he's the best man alive. He does everything perfectly, because there's no such thing. So when you see a guy that's too perfect, it's better to just get away from him. Because honestly, no woman is ever enough for him to commit. Okay? This guy is very hard to resist. It's best to avoid him completely. And even if you try to be careful, and you even use these tactics and you try to, really put your guard up, they know how to lure you in. Trust me, they do. So just as soon as you think somebody's too charming or has too much game or does things too perfectly, be very careful. Next, and this one is a bit hard to forget, is the mama boy. It's very easy to spot them because honestly, if they have social media, most of their social media is going to be pictures of their mom. Their mom is literally the center of the world. Every time you talk to him, he's going to keep bringing up his mom. And my mom did this, my mom is like this, I expect you to be like my mom's a hard worker, so you should be a hard worker. Everything is through his mom. And even if you do something wrong, like let's say you guys are on a date, you said something he didn't really like, he will run to his mom and talk about it. And then he's gonna talk to you the next day and be like, well, my mom thinks this about the thing you said. Like, everything is through his mom. And just being around these guys are just a big no, because even if you do end up marrying them, his mom will always be in between. She will always be in your business. She will know everything, and she will tell him what to say, how to say it, what to do. She basically teaches him how, like, he's not a man. Listen, mama boys are never men. They basically, the mom controls them and tells them everything, what to do, what to look for, how to act, what to pay for, like everything, everything. In my personal experience, the men that usually end up being mama boys are moms that are single moms because they don't have a husband, so typically they try to make their son into their husband, which is kind of sick and disgusting, but I don't think it's on purpose. I think it's kind of like psychological. They're trying to get everything they're missing from a man and get it from their son and turn their son into the man that they never found or had. Something like that. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just assuming. I didn't do my research on that one. And honestly, like Jewish boys, I've noticed that Jewish boys also end up being quite mama boys. Obviously, not all of them, but it's quite common in them too. Do not think that you can change these men because you can't. Like, the chances of you even changing him or making him feel bad about being a mama's boy, it just most likely will not work. His heart belongs to one woman only, and that's his mom. His mom has a say in what he does in his life decisions, his wardrobe choices, okay? She's going to be telling him what to wear. She's going to choose the home he's going to live in. She's going to be telling him what to do with his finances, okay? So don't be thinking that you and him are partners now that you're married or anything like that. Him and his mom are partners, and you're just there in the middle, having to deal with the mom making the decisions between the both of you. Usually these kind of men don't have a masculine example. Maybe sometimes they have their uncle and cousins, but if their mother is single, usually she will make him the center of the world. She will sometimes even make him do tasks that her baby daddy should have been doing. And in general, this is kind of how it transforms him into a mama's boy, because these women who are single moms and they create mama boys, they do it on purpose so that the son will always depend on them. Next, and this one is very common, are the gold digger men. These men there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. And it's funny to me that men constantly call women gold diggers when there's so many homeless men out there who dig for gold. They will literally, it's insane to me. Like, they will purposely, and especially like notice that they will go for the women who are like bigger, for example. You'll notice them usually going for the bigger women because to them that's an easier target, and those kind of women usually take care of them. I've heard men plenty of times saying, I go for bigger women because bigger women, they have so much, they don't really have as much self-confidence, so they will do more in bed. They will pay more just to kind of like prove themselves, I guess, something like that. Like, they will also go for ugly women too, in their opinion, what ugly is. And honestly, these men are usually, some of them are good looking and smooth talking, really. Like, they really have a lot of game because they have nothing else to offer. They're very good in bed too. Like, a lot of women that I talk to who run into these guys, like, it really seems like these guys are really good in bed. I think I feel like it's probably because, like, they have nothing else to offer. Like, listen, if I was the guy and I have a girl who's paying for everything and, you know, doing everything for me, I'm gonna do everything I can to keep her satisfied in bed. Next is the obvious, the one who's a project. These kind of men know how to talk, know how to pretend like they're gonna, you know, become something successful. They're gonna be like, yeah, I know I'm doing a 9 to 5 right now, but here are my plans. I'm gonna start this business, and this is what I'm gonna do, and this is how much money I'm gonna make. Women fall for it all the time, or even the guys who are studying and they're studying to be doctors, and still they're gonna take years to, you know, finish. First off, no one said he's even gonna pass. Second, no one said that he's even gonna get a job. Third, like, you're gonna wait years until he finishes to become a doctor. Who even tells you that after he finishes school and becomes a doctor that he's gonna go after you? Maybe he's gonna be over you, and here you are wasting your years. To me, I never understand girls who go for a working project. I guess it's that fantasy that men create with their words, that she thinks, okay, well, right now, you know, he's working, right now he's a student, well, right now he's doing a 9 to 5, but eventually he'll become something more. Listen, you're not like that Asian girlfriend that Mark Zuckerberg has, and the chances of you even ending up in her position, that's crazy luck. Crazy luck, very rare, but women look at her example and they think, Well, maybe that could be me. The chances of you being that is crazy luck. Like, most women don't end up like that. Most women end up losing so much youth over a guy like that. So any guy who still doesn't have his, things together, like, there's just no point. There's no point. Most of them leave by the time they actually become something. Next is the player. The chances of him making anything official again is super rare. And you're never going to have a healthy relationship with these kind of men. Like, they're basically very similar to The Bachelor. And they're just always going to keep their relationship at a neutral level. Like, they'll just make sure that you guys are always friends with benefits. And honestly, they're very easy to kind of, I guess, catch because they're very protective over their phone. They're never going to tell you where they are. They're also going to avoid introducing you to their family and friends. So it's really not hard to, recognize these kind of men. Instead, I always suggest to go for a man that's healthy, one that knows how to communicate, and communicates with you daily. A man that is serious about you wouldn't even ignore you for a day. They talk every day. Every day. A girl who had a guy that liked her knows that guys will talk every day. It does not matter what he does for a living. He could be the president. I'm telling you, they will find time to talk to the women that they want to talk. I've had very successful men, and they talk to me every single day. Okay, if he doesn't talk to you for one day, okay, maybe like kind of let that go, but like 2 days is too much. I'm telling you, a guy that likes you, a guy that's serious about you wouldn't go for more than a day. But usually they talk every single day. These kind of men, like the healthy man, they don't hide anything from you, and that's including their phone. In fact, healthy men, they actually love telling you where they are and what they're doing without you even asking, simply because they have nothing to hide. And since we're already getting into this topic, the on and off guy is somebody that you have to avoid. Like, never fall for a guy who only calls you in between dates, or when a woman cancels a date on him, when he's bored, when he's lonely, when he's horny. Basically, yeah, when he's looking for a hookup, like, it's very obvious. If he just, like, ignores you for days and then pops out of nowhere, remove him. Like, I don't know, like, unless you can actually benefit from him, I would say use him, get what you can from him, but never take these kind of guys seriously. It is not normal for a guy to disappear for 2 days even. One day, okay, but like, I don't know. Listen, I've never had experience with a guy who's actually very serious about me. I wouldn't even have a day of them not talking to me. If they were not able to talk to me that day or not be able to communicate with me, they always told me. Always. Trust me, you are not crazy for expecting a guy to message you every day or to message you constantly. Because when a guy likes you, he will do just that. And if he can't, they always tell you. So for me, it's weird. Like, if a guy doesn't, let you know, beforehand, like, hey, we're not going to be able to talk, I have a meeting, something like that, usually they just don't like you. So if you're allowing a guy to just pop out of nowhere, you better be benefiting from that. These type of men only see you as free entertainment. They're not good men to be around. They're quite dangerous because they don't even see you as a human. They don't care that you're busy, that you should have your own life, that you should be out with people that actually want to be with you, that actually have feelings for you. They don't care about none of that. They don't care about your time. They see you as a form of entertainment. Okay, that is it. Next is the kind of guy that puts in no effort. To me, it's crazy that women even entertain this. These type of men will literally take everything from you and not give you anything. And it's not because they're selfish, it's because they're just lazy human beings. And simply they just don't like you like that. If you, honestly, if you're the one putting in effort, you're the one that's trying to keep, your relationship going, and you're the one who's, setting up dates, remembering birthdays, keeping the communication alive, and just the work just simply always comes from you, you have a guy who puts in no effort. It's crazy to me that there are women out there who go weeks with talking to a guy online just to meet him. Like, men will meet you as soon as you guys talk. They don't want to be talking online. That is not normal to talk to a guy for a week or two. If you're doing it for your own safety, completely different. But if you're like, why am I talking to him for weeks and he still hasn't offered me a date? It's because he doesn't want to. I've talked in my previous videos, like, to get a guy to actually just tell you let's see each other in person, simply by telling him, you can just tell him, listen, I'm barely on my phone, this would be easier in person. From there, he should already understand that he should make a date if he wants to keep the conversation going. So to me, honestly, like, it's crazy. I'm telling you, I'm hearing women talking to men for weeks online just to not meet. Like, the guy just ghosts her after 3 weeks. It's crazy to me. Like, you just wasted your time. For what? And I'm dead serious. If you think that your relationship is gonna die if, like, you don't put in any effort into it, let it die. I'm dead serious. Just let it die. Like, if anything, it's always, it's crazy to me. I can't believe women actually, like, do all these things just to keep our relationship alive. Like, if it's always the men who do these things. Like, I don't know who's been teaching you how to date, but why are you doing this to yourself? Why can't you sit back and just let the guy do, what he gotta do? Men, like, I don't even do the whole two-way street stuff. Like, I'm telling you, I just sit back. The guys will do whatever they gotta do to get whatever they, like, I am constantly, like, I'm telling you, men will complain on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Oh, it's a two-way street. Both should be doing the effort. But I'm telling you, if the guy thinks you're attractive enough, if the guy wants you enough, he's gonna do everything. Everything. Like, the girls don't, like, this is why you see pretty girls who most men want. They sit back and they do nothing. And you can't even hate on that. They just know the game. Men are obsessed with them because the men are always putting an effort into getting them. And that's why they remember those women. Because they're constantly trying to do everything they can to impress those women. Those men don't remember you if you're constantly trying to put in the effort and making it work. Next is the man child. Look, chances of women really ending up with a guy like that is quite rare because women usually are attracted to men who are much older simply because older men are just kind of more mature. Women like to be cared for, pampered, and led, and usually men who are more mature, much older, can give you that. However, as we all know, there are men out there who are in, 40-year-old bodies, but have a mind of a 12-year-old. So these men, sometimes women do fall for them because these kind of men are usually quite funny. They have great sense of humor. And yeah, listen, like, these men are usually adventurous, they're fun, and they kind of live life like a teenager, so it makes it fun, I guess, because it's like you're young and you're just kind of, everywhere. So the reason why you should just avoid them is because you already know how they are. Every guy technically has like a man child in him. But like there's levels to it. Like, there's some guys where just you should already know the difference of how much you can, put up with. Usually if you end up with a guy who's really like a man child, when something serious happens, like you got a serious life crisis, like, you cannot rely on them. They're gonna be absent, they're gonna be gone. So it's better not to rely on these guys, and it's better not to take them seriously. Next are narcissistic men, and I've made a video about this, so I'm not going over this. So if you want to listen to it, I'm going to put it down below. I definitely suggest listening to it because there's quite a lot of them, and they're dangerous. Like, they are the worst. So they're definitely people that you want to completely avoid. Next is the emotional, unavailable guy. These guys, they're just listen, I understand that women usually don't like when guys open up emotionally, though they lie and though they tell men, you can open up to me and open up about your emotions, like, that's what partners are for. They usually get turned off, and sometimes women even use guys' emotions against them. So it makes sense to me on why guys are, guarded up. But as you guys get closer and the trust builds up, and you guys are trying to progress, he should be opening up with his emotions. And if he doesn't, it's not a good thing, because he's never gonna really have his guard down around you. Therefore, the relationship that you two have will just never progress. And therefore, you're never gonna really know the real person he is on the inside. Next is the liar. And listen, everyone is going to lie to you, even a person that is religious. In most religions, I think in all religions even, lying is considered a sin. We're humans, we lie. But sometimes, some lies are more serious than the others. If you find out that he's been lying, and that lie specifically is a very serious lie to you, you should probably leave, because people don't do things just once. Of course, I'll give you an example. I've had many men, for example, lie to me that I'm the only one they're talking to, or that they don't use any dating sites anymore. To me, it's not considered a serious lie. because I was not official with these kind of men. So I don't care that they lied to me about these kind of things. In fact, most men will lie to you about these kind of things. So it's not a serious lie. But it really depends. It really depends. A lot of men will, for example, lie and pretend to be more successful than they really are. You decide how serious that lie is, because maybe he's telling you he's like a CEO, but really he's like, I don't know, a mailman. That's a serious lie to most women. So it really depends on you, but be careful, because even if you do forgive it and it's something serious, you best bet that it's gonna get really bad. Next is the Mr. Instagram superstar, the ones with the heavy use of social media, such as Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. I do everything to avoid these guys, honestly. A man that uses online too much and projecting a false identity, or even follows online models, they're always the biggest waste of time. And listen, I can't even imagine being with a guy. I know some guys who literally use Instagram as like their diary, constantly posting on their stories. It is such a turn off. It is such a turn off. Like, they're trying so, like, people like this, I always, like, it's hard for me not to judge them. I try not to be. And I try to be very feminine. But it's hard, because it's like, I know what you're doing. You're really trying to show off something to I don't know who, the world or something. Because if you didn't care and if you had nothing to prove, you're not going to be freaking posting everything like a diary. Like, it's a huge turn off. Even when women do it to me, it's like, why? I'm telling you, it's not good. It's not good. And people notice these things too. Like, you're trying too hard to show off something to I don't know who, but it's best to avoid these things. Next are MGTOW men, red pill men. And it's also not very hard to catch these men. You just have to look at their history, look through their YouTube history, Safari history. They're constantly on their phone looking at MGTOW content, and that's basically most of their life is going towards that. Watching other men trash women, watching other men purposely look for psychotic women to create this image of women are terrible. And these men have history of being used by women. If they didn't have a history of that, they wouldn't even be in these groups. And it's just best to leave them alone. It's best to just avoid them and just let them actually be MGTOW, let them be men that go their own way. Because these men, they constantly talk about, don't get married, don't be in relationships, use these women. Yet these same men are married, in relationships. Like, basically everything they preach, a lot of them don't actually go along with it. A lot of them will still go on dates, will still pay, will still basically do what they consider simps do, because they're men. It's just how it is. Like, men cannot survive without women. They're not going to be able to go their own way. And the ones that do are very just, ugh. Like, listen, if you watch their content, you would know enough to avoid them at all costs. Another one are men who insist that they're alpha men, that they're nice guys. In both cases, if you have to make a point to say it, it's probably not true. And like, like, if you're a nice person, you don't actually have to say that you're a nice person. People will see that you're a nice person. And it's always the people who say, like, oh, I'm a nice guy, I'm a good guy. And you end up realizing that they're really not. So usually when people have to forcefully make a point that they're a certain type of person, you'll realize that they're not actually that kind of person. Next, and these ones are annoying, I run into them quite a lot, are the really insecure, clingy, nice guys. These type of guys are usually super entitled, even though you can't see it. They won't be openly aggressive, but they will definitely be passive aggressive almost all the time. These guys will spam you with multiple messages a day, and even if you tell them that you're busy, even explaining to them that you're busy, one time maybe they'll let it go, second time they might let it go, third time, that's it. Like, you don't reply to them immediately, and they will get really angry and think that you're ghosting them. And then eventually you can expect them to, call you the B word or block you. Like, it's just, wow, the amount of men like this I run into, it's horrible. Next is the obvious, and that's the very good looking men. These men, wow, with them you're gonna have lots of competition. Very rare that they're not gonna cheat on you. Almost all of them will cheat on you. And honestly, even after they cheat on you, they expect you to sit there you better get on your knees and stay with them like a little puppy, because They honestly believe that you are so lucky to even have them or be with them. They also really tend to act more like women and expect the things that women expect because you know how women are. We base ourselves and our worth kind of on our looks. Obviously, it's not really true. We also base it on our knowledge and stuff like that. But we know that men, first thing they look at is looks, and the way they're going to treat you is based on your looks. So they kind of end up thinking like women too. They end up being a lot more feminine. And yeah, if you're going to be with them, you better put them on the pedestal. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Next, and this one is personal. A guy who's into like health and fitness. Listen, I strongly believe that fitness is important, eating healthy is important, and I always make sure that I watch out for my body. Like, I do make sure that I'm fit. I love working out, I love eating healthy, but I don't have a strict diet. Like, I don't have those strict meals and like those bodybuilders do. And usually those kind of men will put you in that schedule. They're going to make you do the work as they do. Obviously, like for a girl version, and they're going to make you eat kind of the things they eat. I don't want to be stuck on like this strict meal where I'm eating constantly chicken breasts every day and then once a week I have a, like, little cheat meal. I just want to eat whatever I want to eat. And usually when I eat, like if I feel like having a burger 3 times a week, I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'm going to work out like crazy because for me, it's either when I used to be big, for me it was like, okay, what am I going to give up? Either I'm going to start eating really healthy or I'm going to work out. Or I can do both. But I'm like a huge fan of food. Like I love food and I just can't give it up. So I told myself I'm going to work out like crazy. And that's basically what I did. Of course I had to eat healthy and stuff like that to be able to get to the weight that I want. But like I don't want to be on that strict diet. I don't even want to be with a guy who has muscles and abs. Like that just creates more competition. The spotlight is on me when it comes to looks. Therefore, you go and you go to work. Like it just this is why it's a personal thing. For some women love this, but not for me. Next is a man who suggests being, sexual too soon. I mean, it depends on what you do. If you're like a sugar baby or whatnot, you won't really care. You're just there for the money. If you're a woman that's actually looking for something serious and the guy also wants something serious, he's not even going to put you in that position because it's too risky. Like a guy that actually wants you usually won't put himself in that risk. He's trying to get to know you and trying to figure out what your boundaries are before he starts making these kind of embarrassing, sexual comments and all that stuff. So that's a red flag. Even though all guys care about is sex and the first thing they want to do as soon as they meet you is that, they're usually still going to be careful on this topic because they know how most women react to it. Honestly, the best men that I've encountered are traditional men that come from a traditional home, men who come from a family that isn't divorced. And in general, even religious men are amazing men. Like I had the best experience with them. But just because somebody's religious doesn't mean that they're a good person. You should always test people out because even religious men can be sketch. And even religious men do sketch stuff. So always make sure no matter what they say and who they claim to be, you're really kind of figuring them out and seeing that they are what they basically try to say they are. There are plenty of ways to meet healthy men that are marriage-minded, and honestly, Tinder is not one of them though. Okay, Tinder does have rich men on there, and you can beg a guy on there, but I don't know, for me, Tinder men are to be used. I can't take them seriously because you notice if you go for guys from Tinder, they're kind of never off Tinder. Even if they meet you and you're great and they want to take you seriously, they still think that, okay, if I met her and she's so fine and she's this and that, maybe I can find somebody even better on Tinder. Like Tinder is like a never ending pool of dates. So it's kind of like men there are not really to be trusted. It's very rare that people find rich men on there that are actually marriage minded and end up getting married to them. There's even research about this. Like people who meet on social media and dating apps usually don't last as long. Like the divorce rates are quite high for people who meet off of social media or on dating sites. Meanwhile, people who meet from mutual friends or mutual connections actually end up lasting a lot more. So I know that can be a little difficult because not everyone has good connections. And honestly, if you're stuck with online sites, there are plenty of serious dating sites, like for cultures, for example. I know that there's plenty of dating sites that are very serious and people are marriage-minded on, like, there's Indian dating sites, Russian, Arab, like, even religious ones where, like, there's for Muslims, Christians, Jewish people, even Jehovah's Witness, I'm sure. So on there you can still find a pool of great men. It's good to open up as much options as you can, because especially if you don't have connections, open up those dating sites, get as much, options as you can. Try to go out and meeting them in person, because until you find a guy who you really want to actually be married to, and they're generous and you guys have the same values, the same mindset, it does take time. So anyways, that's it for today. Thank you all for listening. If there's anything else that you want me to add on, talk about, fix, definitely let me know. And guys, I'm so sorry about my voice. Like, I'm so sick and I haven't been posting. Life has been getting really busy, so. But yeah, love you all.